Oh my gosh. Fancy meeting you here. Welcome back to this week's episode of Kind of a Bitch. Okay, team, we're moving on through our luck laboratory series. So, for a little recap, in episode 3, we talked about bold action, risk taking, and creating psychological safety nets so that you can swing bigger in life. Today, though, we're going to focus on connections. And I am not talking about connections like regular old, hey, hello, how are you in the coffee shop. I'm talking about authentic ones because I personally believe that the luck that truly changes your life comes from people seeing the real, actual, authentic you and the value that you bring, not just from networking, social climbing, or anything along those lines. Okay. Now, some people seem to run into the right opportunities at like what seems to be exactly the right time. But if I'm learning anything from this series and from the research, that is not magic. Often, it's because they have built genuine relationships that allow the universe or the right people to notice them. Today, we're going to explore how authentic connections attract the very much aligned and right kind of luck for you. First off, let's discuss the power of authentic connections. I can't get enough of this topic. I can't get enough of this topic. In fact, this is one of those topics that makes my heart sing because I think the power of authentic connections in life, but also in business, is like the absolute perfect combination. So let's talk first. I'm calling it connections over climbing. Okay. I believe true opportunity arises when you are seen, like seen, italicized font, seen for who you are and what you can offer, not just when you are trying to leverage or being leveraged by someone. Okay. Authenticity creates trust. Trust opens doors. And that's like a beautiful stepping stone for meaningful luck, for luck that is really going to make a difference in your life. Something that I truly, truly believe in is I want to be the same person, uh, same version of myself on platforms like this as I am with my clients, with my friends, with my family. Now, of course, there are aspects of me that are private. So sorry. There are aspects of me that are purely just for those people, and I, I respect that. But at the same time, I find it always like a little bit odd when you're in a relationship with someone and then they run into somebody else and they're a completely different version where you're kind of like, what the heck? Who was that? And I really do think that there is something so beautiful about being able to come and be very much yourself. Because at the end of the day, at some point, that very true self is going to bubble up somewhere. And if you've created a network of people who only like a specific version of you or a masked version of you, you are just, you're cruising for a bruising, as they would say in Greece, the musical. So, authenticity creates trust. Trust opens doors, and that is a stepping stone for meaningful luck. Another piece of this authentic connection goal that we are going for here is reciprocity versus transactional. Reciprocity versus transaction, if you will. I touched on this briefly when we talked about unreasonable hospitality. Okay. Unreasonable hospitality is this idea of going above and beyond, um, of giving generously, of being generous with who you are, with magic, with whatever. There's this unreasonable hospitality mindset, and I love this as someone in a sales industry because I think that is an industry that can be pretty transactional, if I do say so myself, and it's something that has always kind of irked me. So this idea of giving without the expectation of return, of sharing your skills or your insight or your support truly, genuinely. And there are so many offshoots of that particular topic because I also think that within that, being honest and authentic with how you can give or how much you want to give is incredibly important. But I think what I see a lot, I don't know if it's in this culture, I don't know if it's in like specific family systems, I'm not really sure, but I see a lot of this idea that like, well, I did this for you, so I deserve this in return. And that is not a way to create trust via authentic relationship. There is some scientific research that supports this whole idea. This research on its parasocial behavior, and it shows that generosity and authenticity increase cooperation and opportunities naturally. And honestly, for me, if being generous and authentic will increase cooperation in my life, like that to me, that's a game changer in and of itself. But of course, generosity and authenticity, I think that when you truly are giving generously, when you are showing up generously, people do often want to do the same for you, but we can't expect it. If you are giving with an expectation, you are not giving genuinely. If you're giving with an expectation, you are not giving genuinely. And that's something I've really tried to do in the last few years, actually. I noticed to myself, like, am I doing this so that I get the same in return? Because I remember, come with me on this small little tangent. I remember way back when I worked for a boutique fitness studio. It was Flywheel. It's out of business. So sad. But I remember an instructor had said to me, yeah, when you sub for people, then they'll owe you. When you sub for people, then they'll owe you. And so in the beginning, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, like for sure, I'm going to sub for so many people because then I'll have all of these IOUs. That's not true. They don't owe me, actually. I'm being paid for that time. So there is no other owing other than a thank you, right? And so I remember kind of being shocked at how often I had subbed for people who then never ended up subbing for me. And that's on me because if I was subbing expecting to get paid and also expecting an IOU, that is totally on me. I was not giving without an expectation. I was already being paid for my time. Like the exchange was even. But that's a really hard thing to learn, that if you are giving with that expectation that someone treats you exactly the same way, that's unfortunately not genuine giving. Okay. That said, though, if we can master it, generosity and authenticity increases cooperation and opportunities in a very natural way. And my last note about the power of these authentic connections is there is a certain magic in connecting with people in an authentic way, because it means that they are most likely aligned with your values too. Surround yourself with people and communities that resonate with your core values, because luck tends to find those who are visible in the spaces where they belong and where they contribute meaningfully. Like, of course, you will be noticed if you're in a space that you kind of feel like you're not supposed to be in, or like you don't really resonate with it. But there's nothing like meeting someone who you're like, holy moly, you are on fire. Like, you are so expansive and you are glowing. And it's because they have surrounded themselves with people, with like-minded people, or people who share the same mission or same values. And it truly is so magical. You can't get enough. So opportunities will naturally find them because they are the people you think of when you think of that particular mission, value, whatever. You know what I'm saying? A couple of real world examples I have to give you. And I know you will hear these people and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I love that person. Like, you can't get over it. These real world examples of authentic connections. Number one, Mr. Rogers, the one and only. You know who this person is. You can feel the way that he made you feel through the screen without me even having to go on. But Mr. Rogers, he built trust and genuine connection with kids and families over decades. And so because of that, people sought him out for collaboration, for advice, and for partnerships, simply because he was so authentic and he really embodied the values that he stood for. Another person, Malala Yousafzai. I If you have not read her book, I cannot recommend it enough. But she she attracted so many opportunities to advocate and to be heard because she was unapologetically herself and she was incredibly authentic to her mission. Again, there's so much more involved in her story there, but because she was so passionate about what she stood for, those opportunities continued to come her way. The common thread here is, in my opinion, these two people were not social climbing. They were not trying to simply get more notches in their belt, right? They were consistently showing up as themselves and contributing to missions and others. And that authentically attracted opportunities that aligned with them. So, how can we apply this authentic connection goal or mindset to the idea of cultivating more luck? How can we do that? First and foremost, you build connections by showing up authentically. Now, that is, again, kind of hard in the age of social media, but so incredibly important. Be consistent, be reliable, and be generous in ways that feel true to you. Okay. Again, there is not one way to do this. I think that understanding yourself and understanding what you stand for is it's a very big ask in a in a 20-minute podcast episode. But if there are ways that you can be consistent and reliable and generous in the ways that are very specific to you, that is going to draw the right people to you. Do not try to be the person you think others want you to be. Okay. Be the person that you actually are, because the person that you actually are will attract the right people to you. Authenticity attracts the right opportunities. Give before you receive. Now, this feels very scary. And similar to the first one, this feels scary because you cannot guarantee that that stuff is coming back to you. But there are a lot of ways to give without putting yourself in like a bad place. Okay. This can be something as simple as offering support, offering insight, or offering encouragement without expecting something in return. Showing up for your family, for your friends, offering time on the phone, um, helping somebody with their referral letter, whatever that kind of stuff looks like, giving that stuff before you've received it back, becoming someone who people know they can come to for that kind of support is incredibly important. And does that mean you need to do it so much that it is detrimental to your well-being? No. And does that mean that you should always do it for people who never ever show up for you? No, because of course there is a line, and I'm sure there's a podcast episode that I can cover about that somewhere, but that is not the time for this. Give before you receive, offer that support and insight without expecting something in return. Do it genuinely. Even small gestures, sharing an article, giving feedback when it's asked for, or helping somebody make a connection, like introducing them to the right job or a referral, whatever that is, that strengthens trust. When we strengthen trust like that, you do tend to be the person that people continue to think about, which means that more opportunities, aligned opportunities, will come your way. And what about how do we find those people that we want to give genuinely to? Well, we have to engage in meaningful communities. And that can be online, that can be in person, that can be shared interests, shared values, that can be family, that can be friends, whatever that is. Join spaces that are aligned with your interests and or your values. Is that a run club? Is that an art community? Is that a dance class? Like, find those spaces that a large majority of the people have some shared interests or values with you. Focus on contribution and collaboration, not collecting contacts. This is honestly, maybe this makes me a bitch. I don't know. I have gotten to the place where when I meet up with people, like I have recently had people who have, we've like all gotten together, a group outing of sorts. And it's people who I've reconnected with, who I haven't seen in a really long time. And there have been a couple of moments where at the end of those experiences, whether I know this person or I don't know, where it's kind of come time to exchange information, or to do the obligatory, we should get coffee sometime. And I am training myself to not do that, because there are specific situations where I'm just like, I don't feel connected to you at all. And it's not because I think you're a bad person. We don't seem to share interests or values. There was not a connection or a spark. And I think part of that is because I don't want to be a person who collects somebody's contact info only to have them disappear in my contact book and I can't even remember what their name was. So I couldn't find them if I wanted to, right? Focus on contribution and collaboration, not simply collecting contacts or followers, you know? Opportunities come from the people that you genuinely connected with, not from those who you barely know. So, this micro exercise, I've given it to you the last couple of weeks as well, but this week I want you to identify one like authentic gesture, authentic to you. Again, I'm going to name a few, but if these are not yours, be free. Reach out to somebody, share an insight or something that you found interesting, contribute in a community or a Facebook group or, in a, I don't know, in a community that you're already involved in. Journal about how that type of authentic gesture, like something that I personally love to do. I am so fast to connect people. If I can think about, oh my gosh, you love X, Y, and Z. My friend so and so loves X, Y, and Z. She does blah, blah, blah all the time. Do you want me to get her info so that I can connect you so you can go and do that hobby that you love as well with a buddy? Like, I am so quick to do that I do feel like I have people who reach out and do you know anyone who works at this company? Do you know? And it's like, I love being known as a connector. That is something that I can do freely and that does not put me in any type of a difficult place. It is no skin off my nose to help connect people. If they do not get along or if they do not enjoy whatever I, recommended after the fact, that's okay. And that's not really my responsibility. But the fact that I was willing and ready to connect them and then did, that's like, in my opinion, such a generous and kind thing to do to the people who you care about for the people that you care about. If you can identify a couple of those actions that feel authentic to you, journal how it feels, and then any ripple effects, like what came from that? Did more of a connection form because you were able to connect or because you were able to do that thing? Did Was there a domino effect of something that came your way because you did that? I want you to journal about it or note it again so that we can be aware of how those things affect us. It's nice to have a nice list of proof that reminds us why we do the things that we do. And then lastly, your authentic presence is so wildly valuable. I want you to pay attention to how you show up in interactions. Like, start noticing how you yourself show up in these interactions. How are you listening? How or are you asking thoughtful questions? Are you being fully present or are you do you have your hand on your pocket waiting to see if your phone is going to buzz? Whatever that sounds like, I want you to start becoming aware of how you are showing up in these interactions. Luck flows to people who are present and who are genuinely engaged with the people who they're interacting with, because that's how you make authentic connection. The more authentic your presence, the more those opportunities will start to notice you. So, this week, I want us to focus on authentic and genuine connection. If that means that you have to do less of the stuff that isn't authentic and genuine, this is your hall pass to cancel plans, okay? Eh, there's a caveat on that. I don't know. If you are wondering if that's really the case for you, then maybe you shouldn't. But you know what I'm saying? If you're feeling like you've said yes to a bunch of stuff that you're like, that's actually not my crowd, that's not my crew, that is not aligned with the way that I am or the way that I want to be, this is your permission slip not to do that. Choose an action that reflects who you truly are, whether that's the reach out, offering help, offering to connect to people, contributing to community. Notice how it feels and what unfolds, because authentic connection will naturally attract the right kind of luck. On that note, authenticity, my beautiful, beautiful listener, is magnetic. You might not know what pieces of your authentic self are going to attract the right people and the right opportunity. You just don't know. If you've listened to my stories about being a rat kid and how that attracted one of my biggest clients in history for me, that's kind of what I'm talking about. You don't know what weird, wonderful, authentic parts of you are going to attract the biggest opportunities and quote unquote luck. Bold action, though, plus authentic connection will set the stage for the right opportunities, the right aligned opportunities to find you. Next episode, we're going to bring it all together and we're going to talk about designing your life, your habits, and your environment so that luck consistently finds you again and again and again, because we can cultivate more luck. Thank you, team, wherever and whenever you are listening. If you have feedback, if you have a review, if you have a question, or perhaps you have a lucky story that you'd like to share with me, I welcome all of it. Please send it my way. Other than that, enjoy wherever and whenever you are listening, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.